The hallway was a river that never stopped moving. Boots struck the floor in uneven rhythms. Radios flickered with half-heard calls. Voices overlapped and dissolved into the constant hum of motion. The air smelled of coffee gone cold, and machine oil worked too hard. Through it all, she moved with an armful of paperwork pressed tight to her chest, careful not to drop anything, careful not to take up space. Someone brushed past her and barely noticed. Another clipped her shoulder and muttered an apology that sounded more like irritation. A pair of younger troops laughed under their breath, confident they were being subtle. Paperwork girl. Admin only. She didn't react. She adjusted her grip, tucked her chin, and kept walking. The work had to reach the next office, the next signature, the next decision everyone assumed simply appeared out of nowhere. She paused briefly at a doorway as light shifted across the hall. For just a moment, the bracelet at her wrist slid against her skin and something metallic flashed beneath it, sharp, deliberate, out of place in the blur of routine. No one noticed. The jokes floated on, careless and soft. The hallway swallowed her again, but if there had been a camera, it would have lingered on that wrist a fraction longer than the crowd did, like a question forming in the dark, like the quiet before someone realizes they should have been paying attention all along. Mara Dalton worked where the maps lived, where routes were drawn and redrawn until they stopped looking like lines and started looking like chances. On paper, she was a logistics and operations coordinator. In practice, she was the quiet person in the corner who made sure the right trucks moved at the right hour, so someone else didn't have to pay for a mistake. People knew her the way you know a chair that never breaks. Always there, always working. Easy to forget. She spoke softly, rarely raised her voice. Finished tasks before anyone remembered assigning them. That made her useful, and it made her invisible. Most people saw nothing beyond paperwork and calm. Admin help. They called her when they thought she couldn't hear. Paper pusher. Nice. Polite. Harmless. No one asked about the years before logistics. She never volunteered them. There had been a medical evacuation unit, a forward deployment, and a night she still carried with her, stitched into silence. The guilt lived like a stone underwater, never visible, always present. She avoided walls of plaques and ceremonial displays. She'd seen enough ceremony unfold in real time. Her mother told her to find something safer. Her brother said he was proud, then changed the subject, as if pride were easier than understanding. Mara let it all roll past on the surface. On the outside, she was steady weather. Underneath, the storm never fully cleared. Commanders noticed what others didn't. They slid complicated routing problems across her desk without explanation. She solved them, thanked them, and moved on. She never demanded credit. That made some co-workers uneasy and others bold enough to laugh at how kind she was. She wore the same plain silver bracelet every day. Unremarkable, habitual, she never took it off. Sometimes, when she adjusted her sleeve, there was a brief flash of something heavier beneath it. People missed it. They kept seeing paperwork. The quiet voice. The woman who never argued. They didn't see what she carried. Not yet. The alert cut through the base like a blade. Phones lit up. Radios snapped from idle chatter to clip commands. Mara looked up from a stack of manifests just as the operation screen flooded with red markers. A convoy that should have been well past danger was suddenly reporting contact. Wrong place. Wrong time. Wrong coordinates entirely. The operations room filled fast. Voices overlapped. Chairs scraped. A new officer, still settling into authority, eager to appear decisive, took charge. He waved off questions and began pushing instructions through the system. Mara's eyes stayed on the map. The route on the screen wasn't the one she had planned. Somewhere between approval and execution, it had been overridden. Static bled through the radios. When voices broke through, gunfire followed close behind. The convoy had driven straight into a narrow valley with perfect sightlines. A textbook kill zone. Mara felt the air thin. She had seen that shape before. Framed through a helicopter window, wounded strapped to the floor while seconds slipped away. The room tilted toward panic. Everyone moved, but nothing moved forward. Orders contradicted each other. Reports stuttered and vanished. Someone cursed the radios. Someone blamed the software. Mara traced a digital route with one finger until she found the exact decision point when a mistake had been made. She stepped closer to the main display and spoke, keeping her voice even. "The route is wrong." The officer barely turned. He laughed, short, dismissive. "Logistics," he said. "Paperwork. Stay in your lane." For a second, she almost did. Habit is powerful. Then the memory of another valley pushed back. Dust, rotor wash, a medic shouting over blades, a delay that never let go. She felt the bracelet cool against her skin. She raised her voice. Not loud, just steady enough to cut through the noise. "The coordinates are wrong. If you don't change course now, people die. Not numbers. People." She leaned over the console and pulled up satellite logs herself. The live feed glitched, but archive sweeps painted the terrain clearly. She zoomed out, then back in, tracing elevation lines until the land revealed what the blinking icons hid. A narrow funnel, natural choke points, high ridges gifting the enemy the high ground. She tried again to relay the assessment. It came back filtered through layers of rank until it meant nothing. The officer dismissed her again, irritation sharpening. A few younger troops smirked. Paperwork girl worrying about hills. The room split quietly into two camps, those who believe authority could bend reality and those who knew better. Mara's breathing slowed as convoy calls grew frantic. She heard echoes from years ago, counting wounded, losing count, starting again, a stretcher tipping, a hand slipping, a medic cry behind a mask when no one was looking. Gunfire snapped her back. The convoy leader tried to report position and vanished into static. Someone slammed a console. Someone suggested waiting for clarity. Mara felt time thinning. She slid into an unused terminal, bypassed the main interface, and opened a secure backup channel she remembered from a deployment no one ever asked her about. The door opened hard. A senior colonel stepped in, jaw set, eyes scanning for control. The new officer straightened and began explaining. Too fast, too defensive, software lag, weather interference, bad luck, nothing about his override. Mara spoke over him. Calm, precise, terrain funnel, kill zone, alternate route available. Uneasy laughs tried to form and died. The officer started to wave her off, but she was already typing, pulling layered maps, traffic data, fuel estimates. The bracelet slid down her wrist. Without thinking, she pulled it off. It clinked on the console. Beneath it hung a medal on a thin chain, worn, scratched, unmistakable to anyone who had ever read a citation. Someone inhaled sharply. A ripple moved through the NCOs. The colonel's gaze dropped to the medal, then rose to Mara's face. "Where did you learn this pattern?" She answered in fragments. Old Valley Road. Triangulation. Decoy fire to draw vehicles into the choke. She traced a fallback point where the ambushers would regroup. She wasn't telling a story. She was assembling a threat. Updates kept coming. Tire blown. Driver hit. Vehicle immobilized. Dread thickened the room. Mara steadied herself. If the reroute failed, she'd sign the report. Carry that too. But doing nothing meant the outcome was already written. A grizzled sergeant stepped forward. "Her read matches what I've seen." Another nodded. The colonel exhaled slowly. "Emergency reroute. Push it now." The corridor was barely scouted. Broken terrain. Afterthought roads. If there were mines, they'd learn too late. If the enemy anticipated it, the convoy would be boxed in. Time compressed. The reroute went through the backup channel. Acknowledgements came back clipped and strained. The firefight surge faded, surge again. Screams rode static like ghosts. Mara's eyes stayed on the map. One hand rested where the bracelet had been. The metal swung gently as she worked. Her voice stayed even, distances, angles, checkpoints. Not bravado. The strange calm that arrives when the worst memory becomes a guide instead of a weight. On screen, the convoy pivoted one vehicle at a time, like a body turning away from pain. Icons hesitated, then shifted onto thin gray road she marked. For a moment, Nothing changed except the direction of their fear. Then the first trap snapped shut behind them. Detonations bloomed along the abandoned route, exactly where they would have been. The room fell silent. The enemy had expected obedience, not improvisation. Twice the convoy brushed hidden positions. Twice they slipped past. Small arms fire cracked behind them, useless. One vehicle lagged. Warning flashed. The road curved toward a shallow basin. Mara saw it first. Turn now. The vehicle jerked, skidded, corrected. A heartbeat later, an explosion tore open the road behind it. The room exhaled. The convoy climbed out battered, alive. Radio voices changed, shaken, breathing, real. The colonel turned to the officer. No shouting, just questions. Responsibility settling where it belonged. Then he faced Mara. He asked about the medal. She answered simply, a Valor Award. An evacuation that went wrong. Then worse. She stayed until the last wounded were loaded. Not all made it. She didn't give names. Didn't explain nightmares. Just facts. Silence layered the room. Respect replaced laughter. The balance shifted. Reports followed. Reviews. Consequences. The officer was removed, not ruined. A new protocol went out that same day. Logistics would no longer be background noise. Around the base, people walked differently past Mara. Some thanked her. Others nodded. Silence carried weight now. Weeks later, when trouble flickered on a screen, someone always asked where Mara was. She slipped the bracelet back on. Not a signal. A reminder. And she kept walking. Quiet professionals always do.